Have you ever done that? Just for 5 minutes. It's almost impossible. Our minds are so busy. We have busy, busy minds. We have very busy minds, and we're in a world where, again, we're used to instant gratification, and we're running and we're doing. No wonder we're not feeling sane. How do we stop the insanity? How do we get centered? We have to reconnect to ourselves and who we really are, and the essence of ourselves. And the essence of ourselves really is our soul. A lot of stuff that's distracting us in life and making us crazy has to do with our bodies. Just, again, the intensity, the physical gratification, the materialism, the busy running and doing, caring about what other people think. A lot of this is very much body. Our body wants instant gratification. Our body craves instant gratification. We forgot who we really are, because we are our souls. The essence of who we are is our soul. And that is our connection to the Almighty. The best way, maybe everybody take a moment maybe and shut off their cell phones. Is that possible? Unless you're expecting a kidney. Maybe you could shut off your cell phones. Okay? All right. The best way to connect and to center yourself in who you are, and to try to create an oasis of sanity in this insane world, is to connect to the Almighty, to connect to your Creator, to God. We're so running and doing, because we think that if we don't do it, it won't get done. We forget that God runs the world. God runs the world. The best way to connect to the Almighty, the best way to connect to anyone, in any relationship, is to communicate, is to have a conversation. And that's what prayer is. Prayer is talking to God. Sometimes we forget that that's what prayer is. Because we think prayer is like, I don't know, in America we call it Simon Says. Do you know what Simon Says is? Simon says, do this, Simon says, do that, right? So what's the Simon Says in prayer? So usually, most of the time, when you're in a synagogue, in shul, you're trying to make sure that you're not sitting when they're standing and you're not standing when they're sitting. You just want to be whatever you want to be doing what everybody else is doing. But that's not prayer. That's Simon Says. Prayer is talking to God. Prayer is connecting to your Creator. There are 4 steps to prayer. You don't have to be in shul. You don't have to have a prayer book. You don't have to do it in Hebrew. It doesn't have to be against the Eastern Wall. If you do these 4 things, at least once a day, for a woman for sure this fulfills your obligation for prayer. And for a man, there's more of a minyan and to be in that sort of team sport. But if a man does this even once a day, you've prayed. You've prayed. So the 4 steps, there's a acronym so you can remember it. The acronym is RPAT. R-P-A-T. If you can remember RPAT, no matter where you are, anywhere, anytime, any language, you can talk to God. You can pray. So what's R? R is recognize. Just recognize there's a God. Just recognize. What does that mean? It means to realize also that life is not chance or coincidence. Years ago, and you have to know that the why, the first why, when you ask yourself why, is never the answer. You have to go a few whys in before you get to the answer. For example, there's, after my dating workshop, a woman came up to me, this happens more than once, and she said, like, do you know any guys for me? And I go, what do you want? She goes, I want to get married. And I asked, why? And she says, because I don't want to be alone. I go, get a puppy, they're cheaper. Why don't you want to be alone? Oh, I don't want to be alone because why? So years ago, we were going through a little bit of a financial, in our own family, we were going through a little bit of a financial crisis because I'm married to a rabbi. So like, it's not like he's going to score a big bris and we're going to cash out, okay? He's a rabbi. We kind of like sink and swim financially. So we were going through, a few years ago, we were sinking. Well, we were going through a little bit of a hard time. And I was bailing, but we were going down. So I was in Israel researching a new book, and I met with our rabbi, Rabbi Noah Weinberg, of blessed memory, and I asked him, I said, you know, I've been praying for a livelihood, for Parnassa, and it's not forthcoming, and I don't know what's going on. He goes, what do you want? I said, money. And he asked, why do you want it? And I thought, oh, poor Rabbi Weinberg, he's so sheltered here in Israel. To pay my bills, Rabbi Weinberg. And he asked, why? I go, why? So they don't shut off my phone and turn off my heat. He kept asking, why? And I kind of give him an answer, why? So finally I said, okay, I want money so we can pay our bills so that my husband, who is so great and can do such great things for the Jewish people, does not have to be weighed down by debt. He goes, now pray. And when money was forthcoming, instead of just paying our bills and saying, let's go to Florida for our family vacation, I said, Yaakov, go teach. Go develop that seminar for the Jewish people. God can't give it to you unless it's good for you. The Hebrew word for prayer is lahit palel, to self-judge, to self-examine. God answers every prayer. Sometimes he says yes, sometimes he says no. And if he says no, you have to ask yourself, why? If it was good for me, it would be answered. It would be forthcoming. How do I change my life to make it good for me? How do I examine myself and what it is I'm asking for? So R is recognized. When things happen in life, God is talking to you. And he wants you to talk. This is the conversation. If you heard God's voice in a cloud this morning, we have therapists here in Mexico City that you can talk to. God doesn't talk to us through a voice in the cloud. He talks to you when you get a windfall of money or when you get a loss. He's talking to you when you're sitting beside that person on the airplane for a reason and get into a conversation, and what are you going to learn from it? I have to tell you just very quickly. I was, last summer, I was in Israel because I lead these women's missions in Israel and through the Jewish Women's Renaissance Project. And in between two of the trips, aish.com, you know aish.com? aish.com had, they decided to do a mission as well. They wanted to do a trip. aish.com is the first time they were going to do a trip. They advertise it, and they made it between two missions to make sure, they made it between two of my missions to make sure that I could appear on it, okay? So here I am in Israel, and 200 women on the bus, and in 1 week, 200 more women are coming, and now I'm on the aish.com mission. I get on the bus, how many people are on the bus? 17. There were 17 people on this trip. So I'm sitting there thinking, this is a big waste of my time. Which is, as soon as I said it in my head, I realized that's the wrong way to think. God put me on this bus for a reason. And I better figure out why. So we stopped in Hebron.